everyone, this is Team S4 presenting the second group project. I am Jennifer and I will be going over the elements of a use case. So there are 10 elements in a use case, as you can see here. The first one would be the use case name, followed by use case ID and importance level, primary actor, use case type, stakeholders and interests, brief description, triggers and type, relationships such as association, include, extend, and generalization, normal flow of events, subflows, and alternate exceptional flows. I will be going over the walk-in appointment use case with clients. So for this use case, the primary actor is the client, and when a client walks in to the dealership, they want to see what inventory that is currently in stock. This will work with the existing car dealership system that we have for the salesperson to provide the information about the car of interest. So the trigger is the client walking in, and the relationships that we have for association would be the client as well as the existing car dealership that we have. And we will extend to the financing use case as well as the make transaction use case. For more details on the client use case, we have the normal flow of events, which would be when a client walks into the dealership. An available salesperson will walk up to the client and introduce themselves. Then they will select the car that they want to purchase, and then we would execute the financing use case. For the subflows, we're going to determine the satisfaction level of the client and their experience with the dealership, and then we would execute the financing use case. And the alternate flow would be to make the transaction. So once the vehicle has been selected, then the service experience survey is completed. And then from there, the client would finish the process of purchasing the car in the next few use cases in this presentation. For the client activity diagram with the walk-in appointment, we can see that it starts with the client walking in. Then we will display the available vehicles. The client looks through the car lot, they select the car that they're interested in, they'll meet with the salesperson, and then they would execute the financing use case as well as the make transaction use case. And then that would complete this process.
And now we'll go into second use case called make transaction. The use case name is called make transaction. Primary actor is salespeople, and use case type is detail in essential. We have 4 stakeholders: client, salespeople, manager, and financing manager. For a client, they choose a vehicle, and salespeople, they add option or accessories, and they process trade-in as appropriate. And manager, they approve sales, and financing manager, they approve financing arrangements. The brief description of this use case is that it describes how salespeople process sales of vehicle, including adding option or accessories and processing trade-ins. The trigger will be when client chooses a vehicle and decides to go ahead and purchase. The type will be internal, and for relationship, we have association with client, salespeople, sales manager, financing manager, and inventory system. Our normal flow events can be broken down into 5 steps. The first step will be to display selected vehicle. Second, determine if there's any promotion offer on the selected vehicle that the client decided to purchase. And third, sales manager approve the sales. 4, determine if the client would like to finance. And 5, financing needs request is sent over to financing manager for approval. For our subflows, we have 3 subflows. First is determine the availability of add-on options or accessory that client has chosen. And second, determine if there is a trade-in, and if there is a trade-in, evaluate the condition of trade-in. And third, calculate sales tax discounts, if any, and record it in the system. As alternative or exceptional flow, if a trade-in vehicle is not acceptable condition, skip to step 4, which is determining whether client would like to finance or not. And another alternative flow is that if management requests a report or accounting, export the sales data so that they can use it for their reporting purpose. And now we'll go over activity diagram for make transaction use case. it starts with displaying selected vehicle, and then it executes the get promotional offer use case. It asks for sales manager approval, and they can either approve or disapprove. If they disapprove, then the flow gets ended. If they do approve, then we ask a client if they would like to go ahead and finance. If they say yes, we execute finance the car use case. If not, the purchase is completed, and the completed purchase is sent over to inventory management, and that is the final node.
Continuing from the make transaction use case, we will talk now about the get promotional offer use case. This use case is a part of the make transaction use case, where the primary actor for this use case is going to be the salesperson, as they are the ones that are interacting with the car dealership system. This use case will be utilized to match the client's desired car to any weekly promotions that are being offered by the car dealership at that particular week. As a result, the client's also involved in this too, as they're the ones that are potentially getting the promotion on their desired car. The trigger for this use case will be, as mentioned earlier, part of the make transaction use case after a client decides on a car. The general flow of events in this use case will be that the client's desired car will be displayed, and then from there, the salesperson will match the desired car with the system to check if and what weekly promotions are available for that particular car. If there is a promotion, the salesperson will look it up, how much it is, and it will be applied to the client's transaction report. And the process will then continue into the make transition as well as into the finance a car step. As an alternative flow, if there is no promotion, the salesperson will confirm with the client if they want to proceed with the next step. And if they don't, they could potentially even want to stop the whole transaction process altogether and not want to proceed. Finally, here's the activity diagram for the get promotional offer. As mentioned earlier, it'll start with displaying the client's desired car, and then the salesperson will then check to see if there are any applicable weekly promotions. If there is a promotion, then the salesperson will be able to determine the promotional amount from the system and then apply it to the car that the client wants to buy. If the promotion is not available, if there is no promotion, then the customer then will want to decide whether they get a promotion or not, if they would like to continue with the make transaction and finance a car use cases, or if they wanted to, they could also decide not to continue and end the whole transaction. And from there, this use case will be completed.
Next, I'm going to go over the use case scenario for financing a car. So for a brief use case description, this use case is going to describe how financing and payments are set up between the financial manager and the client. For this use case, the primary actor is the financing manager, and this is considered an essential use case type. For the stakeholders, we have the client and the financing manager. The client is going to be the one who's choosing the financial plan, or choosing to create a financial plan, and they're going to be the ones making the payments. And then the financing manager is going to be the one that helps the client in creating a plan. The trigger for this use case is when the client and the salesman agree on a vehicle and price, and then the client decides that they want to finance their car to pay for it. As for relationships, the associations for this use case are the client, the salespeople, the sales manager, and then the financing manager. Moving on to the flow of events. So a normal flow of events starts with the request being received from the client to create a financial plan. After that, the financial manager has to evaluate the client's credit scores and history. And then based on those credit scores and history, the financial manager can create a financing plan for the client. Once the financial manager approves of the financing plan, they could go ahead and make the offer to the client. And then the last step would be for the client to approve of the financial plan. Under subflows, if the client and the financing manager cannot agree on a plan and both parties don't approve, then step 3 repeats and goes down the flow of events again. Under alternate flows, if the financial manager has bad evaluation of the client's credit scores, there's a possibility where the client is denied a financial plan and then the flow stops at step 2. And then this diagram here kind of lays out these flow events. It starts at the top when the request is received to create a financial plan. Then we kind of see on our first diamond there, the first diamond is reliant on the manager's approval. Based on the approval or denial, the flow continues down to the second diamond, where it's then in the hands of the client to approve or deny the plan. And if both get approved, then we hit the end of the flow.
Next, we will discuss the use case for manage inventory. This is the use case description for manage inventory. The primary actor is management, and the stakeholders and interests are management who manage the inventory. The importance level is normal, and it's essential and overview use case type. Now, a brief description is that this use case describes how vehicles can be added or removed from inventory, and the trigger is the details of the vehicle transaction is provided to management, and it is associated with the inventory system, other dealerships, and manufacturers. In terms of the use case flow of events, we have the normal flow of events. It begins with management receiving vehicle details or vehicle transaction details. Next, management enters data about the transaction into the inventory system. And lastly, the inventory system is updated and displays the list of vehicles. In terms of the subflows, you can add vehicles to the inventory system if they were traded in or purchased. You can remove a vehicle from the inventory system if it's sold to another dealership. And if management requests a report for accounting, they can export the inventory data. For the activity diagram, you can see management receives the vehicle transaction details, and it can be either traded in, the vehicle can be traded in or purchased, which will allow it to add to the inventory system. If the vehicle is sold to another dealership, it's removed from the inventory system, and it leads to recording the transaction. After recording the transaction, they can request a report and export the inventory data. If no report is requested, then it ends the diagram.
Lastly, we have a system diagram. Now we'll go over the use case diagram for our system. The system name is located on the top, car dealership purchase system. Primary actors are located on the left. They are client, salesperson, sales manager, and finance manager. And on the right, we have supporting actor, inventory system. We have 5 use cases represented by oval, and they represent goal primary actors. And the line shows the association relationship between the actors and the use case. For example, for walk-in appointment use case, we have client as a primary actor. You can see the details for rest of primary actors and their relationship throughout the diagram by observing the line between them and the use case. So this concludes our presentation for our group S4. Thank you for watching.